I am Benoy Joseph, Faculty of Silver Hills, Calicut. 5 million years ago, the earth was not existed. The debris were fall apart everywhere in the universe. Slowly and steadily, it combined together and formed a planet, called it as Earth. Now today, we are going to discuss about a unique feature which has been existed in our Earth called oceans. Now these are the points we are going to discuss here. Evolution of Earth and especially the oceans. Salinity of seawater, factors affecting salinity, density of seawater, movements of seawater, they are waves, tides, ocean currents. Now first of all, the evolution of Earth that I just mentioned. After this entire thing been colliding with each other and due to some extra gravitational forces which meet them towards each other. And this process keep on going millions of years, and at last we can see our Earth being cooled off by different agents. And at last we can see the unique planet that is actually the Earth. And the uniqueness when we are talking about Earth is the water present. While the happening of these megators and even the mega events happening in the universe, the sole Earth having bombarded with meteorites, and these meteorites having different materials, that unique material that is water vapor. Again and again when the meteorites came into Earth and it collected many and many crystals of water vapor that created life on Earth. First of all, it being inside the Earth with molten lava, it exhausted again and again, it created more and more carbon dioxide and other materials which shielded our Earth. And at last, it's been cooled down, and we already know about the Ice Age, and after that, it's been created what we called it as Earth. And after the Ice Age, it's been metaphor towards larger creatures. And due to certain important features existed inside the ocean, created oxygen later to the land. And these all phenomena started from ocean itself. Even the starting point of oxygen, we created the environment for our livelihood, our sustainability. It's created by oceans. This is the evolution of ocean. Now when we are talking about this, it starts with a unicellular creatures which thrived inside the ocean, thrived upon the ocean water. Lately it evolved in different space and spheres and shapes. We can see here it starts to evolve themselves from unicellular organism to the multicellular organism, and it thrived in the ocean, and afterwards it started to leap inside the landforms. Now this is all about ocean and its evolution, and the starting point of life existed in our world, in our Earth, in our unique planet. Now in this there is an important component. Before it was carbon, nitrogen and other sorts of minerals. Now there is another important thing, what we called it as salinity. When we are talking about ocean, the first thing and the foremost thing in our mind we are getting the salinity. Now what is meant by salinity? The concentration of salt content in seawater is known as salinity. The concentration of salt content present in the seawater, we call it as salinity. When we are talking about salinity, the average amount of salinity of seawater is 3.5%. It is expressed as the grams of salt present in 1000 grams of water. That is part per 1000. Now when we are talking about 1000 grams of seawater, it will be around 3.5% will be salt. Now this is all about salinity. Now let us see the factors affecting salinity. Let us see the factors affecting salinity. Now the first factor is all about when evaporation increases. When evaporation increases, salinity increases. When evaporation increases, salinity increases. That's the first factor. Now the second one is salinity will be low at the places where there is heavy rainfall. Now we already know the rain contains the purest water in the earth, and when the pure water enter inside the sea, it will dilute the salinity. Then salinity will be low in the regions that are receiving heavy rainfall. The third component is salinity will be comparatively low at estuaries. Salinity will be lower in the parts of estuaries where the sea meets the pure water. The sea meet the pure water where we can see the salinity will be lower. Now there are certain areas where melting of ice, we already know the melting of ice contain pure water. When it mixes with the sea water, it will be diluted and the seawater will be less salinity. Now these are the important things about the factors related to salinity. Now we will go through a simple example of density of seawater. Density of seawater. The density of seawater is not uniform. The density of seawater is not uniform everywhere. This is due to the variation in salinity. This is due to the variation in salinity. Density decreases. You can see here, when temperature decreases, density increases. When depth increases, density increases. Density of seawater increases. And when salinity increases, density increases. This is all about a common thing about density of seawater. Now we will move towards the movement of seawater. Now we are going to study what is the movement of seawater. When we are talking about movement of seawater, it can be classified into three. One we call it as the waves, tides and ocean currents. Waves, tides and ocean currents. Now we are going to explain what are these features. Now the first one is wave. The ups and downs, the harmonic ups and downs of water, we called it as waves. The up and down motion of the water along the surface of the earth is called sea waves. The friction exerted by the wind, on the ocean surface is the reasons for wave. As the speed of the wind increases, the strength of the waves also increases. As the speed increases, the waves also been increasing. This is all about waves. Now when we are talking about waves, it's an harmonic ups and down, we already see. We are going to see the parts of wave. One we called it as the crest, topmost position. The lowermost position called it as trough. And from one wave to another wave, from trough to the wavelength, we called it as the wave height. And both the crest we called it as the wave length. Now we are going for an important phenomena happen when we are talking about the waves. An important factor which happening while the waves are going down, that we call it as a sea surge. That sea surge during the southwest monsoon. when the southwest monsoon happening, it's happened sea surge. All over in Kerala we can see this thing. And it created damages. How we can protect from sea surge? The first thing is depositing boulders along the seashore. Depositing boulders along the seashores. It can be protected by using this. Now the second one is building of polymoutes. Construction of interlocked concrete structure and call it as polymoutes is an example for making the sea surge nullified. Now third point, we can plant different types of plants. Mainly we can make the planting of mangroves. We can make the planting of mangroves in the sea shores, and we can protect our boundaries of sea from sea surge. These are the three methods we can adopt to protect our seashores from sea surge. Now I am talking about the same topic. Now tides are the periodic rise and fall. Now when we are talking about tides, the tides can be broadly classified into low tide and high tides. It is due to the apparent movement of sun, moon and the earth. It has been the constituent of moon, sun and the earth. Now when we are talking about especially the changing of tides, it's been divided into two. One we called it as spring tide. Now what is meant by spring tide? The sun, moon and the earth come in a straight line on full moon and new moon day. The tidal moon force will be intense due to the combinative influence of sun and moon. As a result, the tides formed these days will be stronger. These are known as spring tides. Now what is meant by spring tides? I will give it to you in a short description. When I am talking about spring tide, when the sun, the earth and the moon in a same position, in a vertical position, in a straight position, this time the tide will be more where the moon is facing on the earth. Here we can see the spring tide where it is in the straight line, with the sun, earth and moon. This we called it as spring tide. We called it as spring tide. You can see here the full moon, the earth and the sun in a straight line. We called it as spring tide. The same situation, earth, new moon and the sun. That is MES. MES means the spring tide. Now the second one is the neap tide. The second one is the neap tide. The moon and the sun will be at an angular distance of 90 degrees from the earth after 7 days from the full moon and the new moon days, as the sun and the moon attract the earth from an equal degree. Now you can see in a 90-degree angle, the sun, it's not like this. It will be in a 90-degree angle. We call it as neap tide. Now here we can see the earth, the sun and the moon. It's in a 90-degree angle. It's in a 90-degree angle. We called it as neap tide. That is MES. That is MES. It's in a 90-degree angle. Now the last thing is ocean current. This is also a part of waves. Wave, tides and ocean currents. The regular movement of ocean water from one place to another. We called it as ocean current. There are different ocean currents. Now we will see. Identify the significant learning outcomes. The significant learning outcomes. Identify and mark the location of different oceans on the world map. Explains the size, the depth and other features of each oceans. Describes ocean water movements like sea waves, tides and ocean currents. For that, thank you.